Christmas from everyone at Laxey School.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster my good afternoon. It's 7 minutes after 12 midday. This is Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Open line today through till 1, so the floor's yours. Lines are open. 66 13 68. Text 166 177. WhatsApp, same number. Email studio@manxradio.com. Well, I mentioned we got a problem or a potential problem with tonight's 8:45 Manxman to Heysham and the subsequent return. And tomorrow night, 7:15, but that doesn't stop it. At the moment, every sailing is under a shadow, really, subject to disruption or cancellation because of Storm Gerrit, and that is Thursday the 21st, Friday the 22nd, Saturday the 23rd, and Sunday the 24th. All sailings at the moment are subject to possible disruption or cancellation because there must be some storm that's on the way, and we'll watch and we'll wait. But if that involves you or perhaps people that you know that are coming to the Isle of Man for Christmas, just be wary. And remember, the nearest hotel will be the Holiday Inn in Lancaster, although there are other ones available. So just watch out. Wilf's first on today. Hi, Wilf.
Hi, just keeping it short here. I've got last week's Independent in front of me, and maybe we're getting somewhere with this with the seawall business.
Yeah.
In Douglas. It says here another picture of it in the paper here, and it says plans for a Douglas seawall have been called into question by Tynwald this month. Infrastructure Minister Tim Krukall said that a 2014 study, well, they've been doing this look at all that money that's been wasted from 2014. Anyway, he's called it into question, and he's a pretty astute sort of a fella. I think we may be getting somewhere. There may be somebody taking some notice. It just might not happen now, hopefully.
I just wonder, I mean, and again, call me a bit slow with this. What happens if they do build this wall? What happens when the sand builds up against that side of the wall? They're going to have to take it away. They're going to have to take it away at some point, surely, aren't they?
You take it away now. What you should be doing, or should have done, is took it away in 2014. And then you wouldn't have had all these pictures of all this cobbles and stuff lying on the promenade. It's nonsense.
Well,
you take it away. It's all free rubble, and you take it away, and you make good use of it.
And this is the point. Perhaps, not everybody knows that you don't just sling it away, that what you take away is useful.
Oh, it's the best of stuff. I mean, they pay a fortune for it down the point. It's crushed cobbles. That's what they dig out of the ground down the point. And then they separate it all up, and then it's crushed up, and then a wagon goes down. That's the cost of that going down. I mean, the people at the point will not like me, but I don't care. They go down, they pay whatever it is to get that, and they haul it back and then do whatever they're going to do with it. But here it is, you've got it for nothing here. You put a 360 on the Prom, put your lorry there, load it up. You don't even have to go on the beach. Load it up, and away you go, and get it crushed, and you do whatever you want with it.
Right, and we'll wait and see then what happens. What do you think is going to happen, Wilf?
I think they'll take it away. I think they'll take the stones away. Because that is, well, it's not the cheapest option. It's the proper thing to do, plus the fact it's cheap. It's free. You can't get cheaper than free. And there's no cost for the wall then.
All right. Okay, all right, Wilf.
Yeah, all right.
I appreciate it. Thanks for calling today. Just a quick word about this House of Keys voted to progress urgent legislation. This is regarding the gas regulation bill. It's got support of MHKs in Keys. If you've been listening on AM 1368 or AM DAB, you'll know Council Ministers wants powers to prevent disconnection in certain circumstances. This is after the story about what used to be Manx Gas, Isle of Man Energy, having the power to cut people off during the winter. Council Ministers wants powers to prevent disconnection in certain circumstances. The Cabinet Office Minister Kate Law-Brennan MHK sought support for the Gas Regulation (Brackets Amendment) (closed brackets) Bill 2023 in Keys today. It's now going to be considered in Legco this afternoon. Only 2 members voted against the bill: Douglas Central MHK Chris Thomas and Jason Morehouse, Arbury Castle, Town and Maloo. The bill, which the government describes as short and focused, came after numerous reports of disconnections in recent weeks. Isle of Man Energy's labelled the move unnecessary, anti-competitive and disappointing, and says the government's failed to collaborate to find an agreeable solution. So you can find the full story at manxradio.com. We've got an unconfirmed report, by the way, of a road traffic accident on the Ramsey side of the mountain. Services are in attendance. Thank you, William. On 861, a road traffic accident on the Ramsey side of the mountain. And Eddie's on now. Hi, Eddie.
Hiya, you all right?
Good, thanks. Yeah, what's on your mind?
Well, hope you're a lot better for one. I missed getting on Friday when Alf Cannon was on. Is it all right if I comment about what I was going to suggest on the day?
By all means, yes.
Well, the first thing I was going to say is whenever you get, it's a mere suggestion, of course, whenever you get somebody really important and you anticipate lots of questions, it'd be a good idea if you made it a 2-hour show. The reason I'm saying that is because I know of 2 or 3 people who tried all the way through the programme on Friday and never got through, even though I was told I was going to be on the 3rd. But never mind. The other thing I was going to say, when I was on the show, saying my bit was, please don't cut me off until I've actually finished. Things like that's happened before, hasn't it? But what I was going to say, let's imagine he's sat alongside you now. I was going to say, about 12 months ago, possibly, a lot of people in this vicinity found out about the onshore wind turbines. Well, ever since then, we've all been very concerned about it. We've delved into everything because it's easy these days, having the internet and so forth. All facts. I missed giving my thought for the day, by the way. My green thought for the day was going to be about ripping up the temperate rainforest, the heathland, so on. And I was going to list three things that's definitely not green, doing all that. It's also not very healthy, is it? To the nature, the dark skies, the birds, and even people. Did you know that anybody living in the vicinity of these things, they're going to be in what's called the throw zone, which means if they start falling to bits, they could sort of fly off and hit people.
Where's going to be the nearest? I mean, where will be the nearest dwelling to where they're proposing to put these wind turbines at Iristane?
Probably about 200 or 300 metres. Maybe even less, I think, in 1 or 2 places. I've not delved into that fully, but I know that there's quite a few people who are part of the group up here who are dead close to where they're going up. And until they stick a post in the ground and say that's where it is, I wouldn't know just how close, but I do know of a lot of houses. Mine is 380 metres away from where I believe there's one suggested. And this throw zone, by the way, there's records on that, and one piece weighing 5 tonnes actually was found 1,500 metres away from the turbine. So the throw zone is just like the immediate bit underneath. where if it falls over and bits fly off. But some of them bits, a blade is 25 tons up to. So on. Did you know that last year 231 people were killed by turbines?
Didn't know that. No. How were they killed?
By blades coming off, the engines falling off, the actual whole things coming off.
25 people killed?
231.
231 people?
Throughout the world, 231 people were killed last year by wind turbines. How about that? Another thing was they're not good for the environment. They're not even good economically. I think Julian last week suggested that if anybody in the MUA or the government can tell us one country that has got cheaper electricity because of these things, then, great. Come on and tell us where they are, because we haven't found them yet. Another thing, not only dangerous, but unhealthy and everything. Last week I found a piece from a newspaper called Connexion, French. And this particular article in the newspaper was saying that for the last 10 years, a place in France, I've got the names and everything wrote down somewhere, but so let's just say somewhere in France, they've been fighting a battle about the noise from them, health, bad to health, bad for nature, bad for everything. Well, would you believe last week they actually won the battle, and the courts have now said that they've got to take the wind farms down. There's 7 of them. They're given 15 months to take them down, and then there'll be a fine. If they're not down by then, there'll be a fine of £3,000 every day. Now, that got me thinking straight away, if we did it, the people of Ronagh, Skird, so on, are all going to fight this anyway. So the government, if they go ahead with it, they may have a court battle on their hands. And what would happen if the scenario was that they lost? How on earth are they going to put hundreds of thousands of years of heathland back, dispose of 400,000 tons of concrete? They can't put 70, 80 years of forest back, can they? All these things. Has the government looked at any of these things? Because I'll guarantee you for one thing, Andy, that is the people of this area do not want them, so they'll fight it. And if, like everything else in the world, if one country has won it, does that not set an example for the rest, and they'll all go the same way? If one country says, take them down, and somebody else will say, take it down, won't they?
So, well, if you can, by the way, I've been trying to find out where these 230 people have died due to wind turbines. If you can tell me where that is, then I mean, all I've found is that a few people have been killed during the building of wind turbines, and some have been due to electrocutions as well. But if you can tell me where that is.
Well, I've got a funny feeling there's a group in Scotland who are against turbines called Scotland's Eye or something like that. And I think it's on their web pages. But we will find out for you, and I'll get back to you without a doubt.
All right. Yeah. Appreciate that, Eddie. Thanks for calling today. Good to hear from you. 21 minutes past 12, and Charlie's with us now. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, I called yesterday. I was 19 minutes 31 seconds on hold for the studio before you shut the programme. Right. I was wanting to ask Copes a question. Big thing in the press lately about 2,000 people missing appointments at Nobles Hospital.
Yeah.
I received on the 11th of December an appointment for myself for the 31st of May, 24. Right?
Yeah.
My own doctor, if I make an appointment with them, the day or day before, they text me to remind me my appointment's there. I've put this to Teresa Copes in the past when I spoke to her at her office. Nothing's been done. So are Manx Care just intent on wasting money? Most people get an appointment. They get a fridge magnet and put it on their fridge, or they put behind the mantle clock. Well, 6 months ahead, a piece of paper. It's quite easily lost, isn't it?
No, I agree. And also, we don't quite know because what they call DNAs did not attend. As you say, thousands of these are happening all the time, which screws up the whole scheduling appointments and also costs everybody money with this. But we don't quite know why this is, whether or not it's on the day or... whether consultants aren't available, it's cancelled the week before or what have you. We don't quite know. I think it's all due to the fact that a lot of the people that are, the consultants don't live here. They're bringing people in from across. We're short of talent, really, where that's concerned.
Correct. But the thing is, I was speaking to an old friend. Her husband died 5 months ago. She got a letter 2 months after he died from the hospital saying he'd missed an appointment. Now, you've got to have a doctor register your death.
Well, as you say, something isn't working. Something's not talking to something else where this is concerned, is it?
Well, I've had problems with administration of the hospital over the last year, and I still haven't got any answers. And I told Teresa Coates when I spoke to her, we've got rid of one chief executive. If she doesn't do her job, we'll have to see about that. But we had an open meeting up at the rugby club some months ago. Presentations for the health service, great. 5 till 7, it was all advertised on Manx Radio, 5 to 7 answers and questions. I went up there at 5 o'clock. I informed Teresa Coates the day before that as I've been waiting 6 months for a reply to an answer, I'd be up to ask questions. They done presentations till 10 to 7 in the evening, and then she said, answers and questions. I shook my head. She was looking at me. I put my hand up. People from left, right, front, back all got asked if they'd ask a question. There's a lot of incompetence in the administration. The staff up there work their socks off. And I have appreciation for them.
So what do you think, what's your opinion of what the way through is? What needs to happen? I mean, apart from the obvious, which is to make sure that people get the appointments in time.
What question I asked Teresa Coates was, but she wouldn't answer me. How many millions does it cost to change Alaman Health Services to Manx Care? She refused to answer. Now, everybody in Alaman knew what Alaman Healthcare was. We didn't need some little civil servant to say, well, let's change the name. I told her straight, the money spent on that changeover to Manx Care could have been spent on patients instead of running back to the government for handouts.
Remember, that was a government decision. I mean, the government decision was to put Manx Care in and separate it from DHSC.
Yes, but the civil servant had to decide that was going to happen, to put the proposal through the government. Because a government official just can't say, let's change this. It's got to be, a proposal's got to be put forward and put through to Tynwald.
And it was the St Jonathan Michael's report that suggested splitting the political from the operational.
Yes, correct. But that's all I've got to read saying. The other thing is, Hayden Wilf before, as I suggested some weeks ago, spend £10,000 digging the shale out and see how it works on the promenade.
All right.
That's all I've got to say.
Appreciate that. Thanks for calling today. Good to hear from you. And thanks also to the WhatsApper 223. Apparently, if you go to scotlandagainstspin.org, there's a summary of wind turbine accidents there. The table includes documented cases of wind turbine-related accidents and incidents and confirmed through press reports and official information up to the 30th of September 2023. can't see many deaths, to be quite honest. There are accidents, and this may be accidents during construction or maintenance or what have you, but I can't, certainly not 230 deaths anyway. If you can clue me in on that, by all means do. What do you think about what's happening on the steam packet as well? Nautilus confirming now that they now have a mandate for industrial action. And if you're a swimmer in the south of the Isle of Man, no southern swimming pool because the lights aren't working. Is this the beginning of the end?
When you save a little money, it means a lot these days.
If you're looking for bathrooms and tiles, you'll always find something new in store at Pacesetter. For surprisingly affordable prices and excellent choice, search online for Pacesetter Douglas. Or better still, visit the Pacesetter Bathroom and Tile Showroom on Harris Terrace and see the new styles in store.
You can get the best of everything, where the price is twice as nice.
Ramsey, Douglas, Castletown and Peel, the Ferry Bridge and Laxey Wheel. Point of Air to the sound of man. Explore the island with Camperman. Whether it's an island staycation, a trip to the UK or a tour of Europe, do it in style with Camperman Luxury Motorhome Hire. Fabulous accommodation, the open road and stunning views await you. Start planning your dream adventure. Call Camperman Luxury Motorhome Hire now on 30 40 87 or find us on Facebook.
Save over a third on festive centrepiece joints at ShopRite. An easy-to-carve turkey breast joint that's a delicious alternative to a whole bird, now only £3 per pound. Or a succulent unsmoked boneless Danish gammon joint, just $2.70 per pound. Roast, glaze or slow cook for a delicious crowd pleaser. How about a rind-on pork loin joint for the crispiest crackling at only $2.25 per pound? Can't make up your mind? Why not buy all three? Festive meat savers now in at ShopRite.
Steam into Christmas with family and friends on the unique Isle of Man Railways dining car. Our winter events programme has something for everyone. Journey through the Manx countryside enjoying sparkling festive fun. To get into the Christmas spirit, book now by calling our Yuletide team on 697457 or visit rail.im and experience one of our festive train adventures.
Here's an invitation to join me on Christmas Eve as I look back on some of the music that was in the charts during December in the 1970s. As well as all those Christmas classics, there'll be plenty of non-festive favourites. That's the sensational 70s Christmas special with me, Mike Buttle, 4 till 7 on Christmas Eve, on DAB, online, on smart devices, and absolutely festively live on Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Testamite, 12:30 on Manx Radio. Just remember that all plans for new buildings and extensions, including fossil fuel heating systems that are submitted after the 1st of January, will be refused by the Building Control. Comes after Tynwald approved regulations made under the Climate Change Act and started amendments to building control legislation in preparation for the total ban coming into effect on the 1st of January 2025. So new builds, extensions containing fossil fuel heating systems submitted after the 1st of January will be refused. Kind of systems that will be refused include new and pre-used oil and gas boilers and storage components like oil tanks as well. Instead, plans for new buildings must feature low-carbon heating systems, air source heat pumps, electric boilers and solar thermal. That's from the 1st of January. The future is here. And so's Bonzo. Hi, Bonzo.
Hello there. Yes, just listening to Eddie and his very long spiel of misinformation.
He'd probably call it an honestly held opinion, Bonzo.
Yeah, alternative facts. Yeah, well, here are some... Well, I'll come to the facts in a moment, but one of the facts, of course, is that he doesn't seem to understand how phone-in programs work. Now, if you have people who are guests who then are going to attract a lot of calls, unlike today where we're an open line and it's just ourselves, then obviously a lot of people who don't normally call in will call in, and they have every right to have their questions answered as anybody else. So it's going to be potluck whether you get on or not. And it's not simply a question of, everyone who's phoned in, we have to extend the programme out to 4 hours so that everyone can have their 10 minutes worth or 15 minutes worth or whatever. That's not how it goes. And that's why I don't phone in to things where you have these kind of important guests, ministers and heads of boards, arm's length organisations and things, so that it allows other voices, new people, to be able to ask their questions, because there will be a lot of people who want to answer those questions. And so I have conventions, I don't do that, which is a convention I think Julian and Julian ought to adopt as well, because certainly on the Chief Minister's programme, I think they've managed to probably get, if you look at the logs, it's probably about 20% of the time, as indeed I think they did with Manx Care yesterday, to put their various conspiracy theories about the World Economic Forum and other such fanciful things. Now, when it comes to Eddie and his fanciful ideas on wind farms, all right. Now, the idea that any of those wind turbines are going to be put any nearer to any structure than 500 metres. He was going around claiming, there'll be one that's there at 100 metres. There's one that's rubbish. Absolute rubbish. The minimum distance of a turbine from any structure has to be 500 metres. That's it. Also, the idea that, it's going to do all the heathland in it. Well, firstly, that area isn't heathland. I know there are some people who might contest that it is or was, but it isn't. Right? About 70% of the best sites for wind turbines on the Isle of Man are, guess what, on heathland. And there are specific pieces in the Climate Change Act that prevent the disturbance of heathland. As part of preservation for climate mitigation, such as peat soaking the rain up and not allowing flooding, that sort of thing. And this idea of 231 people a year dying from wind turbines. Yeah, right. Well, in the United States alone, 24 people, I think it is, die every year from champagne cork accidents. So, a warning for Christmas for everybody about that. And of course, he's very selective with his thinking. I mean, Scotland against spin, I think, is allied to the Erie Stone and Scard website of those who oppose. So I think there's rather a lot of selectivity going on in Eddie's putting things. And of course, Eddie, by his own admission on this programme, received quite a lot of his input from Julian. So I think his comments are, he's entitled to his opinion, however ill-informed and ill-considered, but I don't think everyone else should be able to take it as gospel, and that he should have a right to spend, as long as he likes, spreading such disinformation. It's silly.
Okay, all right. Thanks, appreciate that, Bonzo. Thanks for calling today.
Okay then, cheers, bye.
All right, it's 25 to 1 on Manx Radio. Betty's on now. Hi, Betty.
Hi, Andy. First of all, I'd like to say against Bonzo, he's been rubbishing everybody. Well, I'd like to rubbish him. Anyway, that's one thing. But the second thing is, I disagree with Jerry, who was on yesterday, about old people. Well, he called them elderly people, not having good health care. I disagree with him. And I'd like also to say, I'm not elderly. I'm old. And I looked up the dictionary of elderly, and it said somewhat old. I'm not somewhat old. I'm just old. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I actually do think that old people are a drain on the medical system. We we are. We can't help it, but we are. And I do think that younger people should be looked after first, because after all, we've had our lives, particularly people like myself, those who are over 80, we've lived long, and we've probably lived too long in some cases.
Yeah, but hang on a minute. I mean, Jerry's point was that everybody's entitled to a fair shot. Yeah, everybody's entitled, and particularly, he thought it was a bit pejorative, a bit kind of looking down the nose every time people. We were talking about the fact that, you know, people come to the Isle of Man who are old, and they impose strains, if you like, on the care system over here. Now, is that ageism, Betty? Is that not giving everybody a fair crack of the whip?
No, I don't think it is, because we do use the health system more than most people. That's a fact, and I think that's fair enough to say that we do, and I honestly think. I think we're living too long, to be honest. I think if we're going to stay, and I'm applying this to myself as well, if we're going to stay to be living old, we should practice getting fit when we're younger and take more exercise and eat better. All of the things that I didn't do. But I think that's what people should be thinking about now, so that if they do live to be old, they're able to look after themselves and to still contribute to society. I know it's controversial, but that's the way I think.
Okay, all right. I appreciate it. Thanks, Betty.
Thank you, Andy.
Good to hear.
Have a lovely Christmas.
You too. If I don't speak to you in the meantime, have a good Christmas. Thanks, Betty. A note in from Kate. This is concerning yesterday. This is a point made by Eddie, who just said that when we talk about having an ageing population, is that ageist? I mean, everybody's entitled to attention and resources from the health and care system. Is it ageist to highlight the fact that older people would, by and large, tend to draw more resources from the health and care system? And Kate dropped me a note in to say, look, until we start getting people to lose weight and keep within a healthy weight range and to exercise and to get fit, surely you're going to find more problems. Is it a hate crime now to tell somebody the truth regarding their body shape and their fitness state and tell them to take responsibility for their own bodies? So maybe that's something that we need to look at. If everybody, I mean, crikey, we're talking about body police now as to what body shape you are could get you in trouble. Certainly, in certain private health systems, they will take a look at your body mass index and tell you what's what, bluntly. Now, really, do you think that plays any part in where we're going in the future? Text, email, call and WhatsApp. Oh, and Julian's on today. No swimming today then, Julian?
No, that's right. Yeah, it's interesting, that, isn't it? I suppose you have to bear in mind, Andy, that if any of your Christmas fairy lights go out, don't forget to call out a £400 an hour consultant structural engineer first before you change the bulbs.
So what is exactly the problem with the Southern Swimming Pool's lights?
Well, apparently some of them are... They've lost 25% of the lighting, apparently, over the pool. So they're worried about, how visible the pool is. But it seemed to be okay when I was in there the day before. But hey-ho, we'll see what the structural engineers will
So,
find.
As somebody who uses the pool on a frequent basis, did you get any notion of this? Was any of this blowing in the wind?
No, just came out of nowhere, really, which is most unfortunate. Let's hope they don't find a crack in the car park or something, which necessitates a permanent closure until they build a new school or something.
Well,
we're giving them ideas, really.
Well, yeah, we're hopefully talking to Lawrence Vaughan-Williams on the committee later on today, and we'll see. But I mean, surely they're not short of bulbs there.
Well, yeah. I mean, it might even be worth if you get, because it's quite a tall roof, that, so you'd have to put some scaffolding up. So stick some LED battens up instead of the old tube things, and that green energy thing. Take a bit less power. Don't know really. Just you'd think you'd have a look at get an electrician in first, but for some reason the consultant structural engineer has to be called first. So there you go. The building control regulations saying that you can't put a fossil fuel boiler in this January next month. I'm right in saying that, aren't I?
No, it's plans. All plans for new build and extensions that are submitted after the 1st of January will be refused by building control.
Do I assume then that the advertised efficiency of a heat pump necessitates having triple glazing, underfloor heating, and solar thermal and solar PV, but mostly solar thermal on the roof? Does that also mean that no house can be built unless it's going to conform to getting the advertised efficiency rating out of the heat pumps?
They've not said.
Because you'd think, if it says can do this, if you shove a heat pump into, if you look at, say, Riet Mai up in Ballasalla, or you look at the ones down in Castletown, the recent builds, I'm not seeing any solar panels on there. I seem to remember they had gas put into them anyway, and I don't recall any of them being built with underfloor heating or triple glazing. So are they going to have a sort of a big change in the construction of these houses? In which case also, if you've got cheap first-time buyer houses, how are they going to do that if you're going to have to be buying much more expensive windows, and underfloor heating is way more expensive than just putting radiators in? So how's that all going to work?
Well, at the bottom of all this is money, as you allude to, and who's going to pay for it?
But if it's a bit like electric vehicles, they're advertised that you can charge them in half an hour. But the fact that you haven't even got a charging point on the island that can get within 5 hours of that charging time, it's advertised in the brochure. So, if you buy a car and then all of a sudden it turns out you need 7 hours on a trickle drip out of your petrol thing, people would get a bit annoyed with that, wouldn't it? Because it's not quite what's advertised. But
well, this is part of the leap of faith that we're being asked to make into the future, and I suppose when they started building petrol-powered engines, when Gottlieb Daimler built it back in the late 1900s, people took a chance on those sort of vehicles, and nowadays, nothing is certain, it would seem.
Well, that's right. Actually, that reminds me of the south of France the other day. A bunch of wind turbines on a wind farm in Montpellier region has been told to rip them out and return the ground to its original condition, which is going to be a bit difficult because I don't know where you're going to get all the little worms and the animals that were originally in the ground when they put the thousands of tons of concrete in the bottom. But because of sound effects on the local residents, and also thousands of birds being killed and a golden eagle being found dead at the bottom of one of them, they're forcing them to actually pull the whole wind farm out, which is interesting.
Okay. All right, Julian, good to hear from you.
Thanks, Andy. Cheers.
All right, it's 1:45 on Manx Radio, and Tony B is with us now. Hi, Tony.
How you doing, Andy?
Good, thanks, yeah.
I'm not trying to put... Sorry?
I'm fine today, thanks, yeah. It's a lovely day.
Good. Well, that's good. I'm not trying to put petrol on any fires, and I'm not trying to be conspiracy theorist like Bonzo thinks we all are, but I have a suspicion that I'd like somebody in the Isle of Man steam packet or the government, the people who are supposed to be taking our view on what we're doing with the steam packet, to tell us, did they put the extra deck on a boat simply so they could put the crew on board permanently? And if that's the case, did they take into account the fact that now that vessel will not be able to sail in any winds above 40 knots, or gusts I'm talking about? In other words, if you've got bad wind conditions, because of its massive sides, it's not going to be very stable. And they know that. because that's why they don't sail. So I think somebody in the steam packet needs to come on and say, OK, yeah, we did that because we wanted to put the crew on board, or they didn't want to put the crew on board and it just so happens they had an extra room up there. And, that's why the ones up on the top deck have all got places to hang your clothes. But that means we've got a massive ship that was bought basically with our money so that they could put a crew on board permanently. And I question the whole ethos of why they've done that. I just don't see this as being the right vessel because of the sea conditions in the Irish Sea are not going to get better going forwards as we keep getting warmed by everybody. Global warming is coming, and that will mean more variable weather. But they don't appear to have done any modelling on a vessel like this in the Irish Sea that is basically a bus service going back and forwards. And they hadn't thought about the fact that, well, we've got this massive slab wind sail, and what are we going to do about it when we can't manoeuvre it?
I mean, do you think there's any chance that these are just sea trials and everything will bed in within 6 months or so, or once they've done a year of going through the seasons, they'll know how to approach all this?
Absolutely not. I used to work with ships quite some time ago, but one of the things that you do when you take a ship is you go out and do a sea trial. During a sea trial, you do listing tests. In other words, you fill up one side of the lower part with water, seawater usually, into the scuppers, into the bottom, and then the bilges are full on that side and emptied on the other, and you see how stable it is in that condition. You usually do it in windy conditions, and you move the ship around to different positions to see how stable it is. Now, that's quite normal maritime services. So I can't see that they didn't know there was going to be an issue early on. And I can't understand why the government has just let this go by. Has nobody thought about this? Has the DOI in their wonderful idea of having a bigger boat not thought bigger boat means bigger side? And that's why you haven't got any basically life boats on it, because there's no room. Because they filled it up with cabins and a top deck that's got people in it who man the boat.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Tony.
Good luck.
Good to hear from you.
Christmas.
All right, thanks for.
Try and get off the island. I hope. I live in hope.
Okay.
You won't be getting off the island between now and Christmas, though, because all the boats are got red on them.
All right, thanks for calling today. And also, Dennis dropped a note in and just said, when's Mannin Line finished for Christmas? Friday. We're on Friday. So last Mannin Line before the New Year is Friday, December 22nd, and we'll be back in the New Year. Yeah, the story about there's planning, by the way, all plans for new builds and extensions containing fossil fuel heating systems that are submitted after the 1st of January 2024 will be refused by building control. This is plans, by the way. The fossil fuel heating system regulations were approved by Tynwald on Wednesday, and plans to bring forward the ban rejecting applications as early as August 23 were shelved after industry feedback. It's still permitted that the use of an existing fossil fuel heating system in a new extension only by the installation of pipework and or radiators connecting a new extension to the existing fossil fuel heating system in the existing building. So that's still permitted.
On the 9th day of Christmas, my true love bought for us 9 showers pumping, 8 cement mixers, 7 bathroom mirrors, 6 slabs for laying, 5 bright chrome handles, 4 panel doors, 3 augers, 2 tap hole basins, and a Haldane Fisher bathroom.
Call Haldane Fisher Ramsey on 815441 or Douglas on 624466. Everything you need to improve your home at Haldane Fisher. See online or visit your nearest branch in Douglas or Ramsey.
Drive smarter. Drive more reliable. Drive a great deal at Mannin Motors. With a superb range of cars for every budget, always available. And if we don't have it, we'll sort it. Plus, servicing, valeting and prestige detailing too. Mannin Motors, Richmond Hill, Douglas. Find us on Facebook or call 420 420. That's 420 420. Drive a better bargain at Mannin Motors.
Welcome to the Ramsey Park Hotel, where there's always a warm welcome and something to enjoy. The Dynamo's Mamma Mia tribute show is coming on Saturday the 6th of January from 7:30 till midnight with 2-course meal for only £45. Or dance till you drop and make a night of it with overnight stay and breakfast included for only £169 per couple. For more news on food offers and events, call 818 123 or visit the Ramsey Park Hotel on Facebook.
This Boxing Day, enjoy the Groudle Glen Railway mince pie trains. Take the family and journey into the Glen with mince pies and fun for all. This year you need to book in advance online at ggr.org.uk. Supported by Manx Radio.
The previous message was brought to you by QVH, the island's premier serviced offices and co-working space in the heart of Douglas. Call 639 940 for more information or visit qvhpremierofficespace.com.
This festive season on the Nation Station, the winning continues with Manx Radio's 12 Days of Christmas. Between now and Christmas Eve, we have a huge prize to give away every day.
All you need to do is listen for your cue to call. Join us live on the air and answer a simple seasonal question.
Manx Radio's 12 Days of Christmas. Brought to you by SpectrumWindows.im.
Your chance to win this festive season.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Howard's on now. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. Just listening to Tony there, he's quite right in what he was saying about the new ship. She's a fine-looking vessel, but certainly not a ship that you would put in the Irish Sea on any regular sailings. The first thing I noticed when she came in was, oh my God, what freeboard, and that's the bit above the waterline. And that, as Tony quite rightly said, is basically a big sail. And to manoeuvre in a small port can be extremely difficult. That size of ship would be just sailing straight into a dock and coming straight back out again, and that would be ideal. But in the Irish Sea, it's been relatively shallow in terms of depth of water. It can come up to storm in a very short period of time. Equally, it can go down again. But if you look at any of the previous ships the steam packet have had, they've all been built primarily for work in the Irish Sea. The Manx Viking, she was built along with her two sister ships for work in the Bay of Biscay, which is a treacherous piece of water for sailing. But they were built for it. And that one there, I can't remember what her name was now, but she was the Manx Viking with Viking lines. And she was a good seaboat. And she would sail in, most weathers, and very rarely you saw that in port. And then they went out to Malta and bought what was the Free Enterprise 3, and that was, virtually scrap. She only lasted 6 months with the steam packet. Well, why didn't they take notice of what was on the Ben? She was bought off plan. The company that manufactured her and her sister ships, they don't exist anymore. But Condor, I think it is, have just bought a sister ship to the Ben to add to their fleet. And she's virtually the same. She's the same hull, but just maybe small difference in superstructure. But if you look at them side by side, you say, oh, God, that's the Ben. They've already got one, and they call it the Condor. So they're running two ships of equal size to the Ben and capacity. But they go and buy this thing, knowing that, or have this thing built, again spending taxpayers' money, albeit on a loan, but it's over a long period of time. And a lot of the ones that's in the steam packet now in the hierarchy won't be there when this thing is, I'll give it 10 years at the best, and she'll be gone. And they were bought on the basis of being Heysham Max. In other words, the biggest ship they could put in and turn around in Heysham. And it was all a glorified ego trip in a sense. And as Tony's quite right when he says, the Irish Sea is unrepentant. And it needs a ship that's specially, I won't say that's the wrong word, specially designed, but thoughtfully designed to work within the scope of the Irish Sea.
Okay, all right, we appreciate that, Howard. Thanks for calling today.
Take care, bye now.
Good to hear from you. Well, the travails of the steam packet continue. Nautilus, the union have said they've got a mandate now for industrial action, and everything's looking red through until Christmas Eve because of Storm Gerrit in the Irish Sea. Well, fingers crossed. Merry Christmas. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today. Back with another open line tomorrow at high noon.
WINT.